Okay, in this video we're going to take a look at the other rule that's used in non-right angle triangles. So triangles that don't have a 90-degree angle, non-right angle triangles. And that rule is called the cosine rule. So we either use the cosine rule or the sine rule in non-right angled triangles when we're asked to find a side or an angle. So an example of some triangles that you'd use the cosine rule on are here. So in the first one here, you notice that we're missing a side and we have an angle, and we have the two sides that kind of pinch that angle. That's a typical sign that we're going to use the cosine rule. When you've been given an angle and then you've been given the two sides that pinch that angle, that create that angle. We've been given both of them, and we're just missing the side across from the angle. Same here, we've been given the angle, and we've been given the sides that make that angle, that pinch that angle, and we're missing the side across from it. Typical sign that we're using the cosine rule. Or indeed, something similar, we've been given all three sides, but we're missing the angle. And we've no angles whatsoever, and we're being asked to find one. Here's another one. We're missing B, and all we have is three sides. The sine rule will not work. You can try the sine rule, and you'll very quickly see that it doesn't work. So if you're ever confused about which rule to use, I'd always start by trying the sine rule. You'll quickly figure out that it won't work, and if it doesn't work, it means it's the cosine rule. Okay, so let's try a couple to see how to do it. So here's an example over here on the right hand side where we're missing A. And I'll explain what that means in a second. Anyway, let's look at the steps. What's the first thing we do? Step one is we label the angle that is pinched by two known angles as A. So, sorry, now that's a little error there. By two known sides, that's meant to read, okay? So, let me explain that. We know this side and we know this side. So the angle in between them that they are pinching, we're going to label that as angle A. So we're going to call that angle A. Okay, let's just zoom in there and let's do that a little bit neater. We're going to call that angle A right there. Okay, so let's just go over that step again. Label the angle that is pinched by two known sides as A, capital A. Now we've just done that. Okay, now step two. Label the side directly opposite it, directly opposite that angle as small a. So over here we have small a. Now the question has already given it to us this way, so that's fine. Step 3, label the other two sides as B and C, and it doesn't matter which is which. So I could call this one B and this one C, or the other way around. All that's really important is I have my angle labeled correctly as capital A, and the side directly across from it as small a. And then the other two sides are B and C, and it doesn't matter which is which. Okay, so those are the first 3 steps. And then I write down the cosine rule and fill in what you have. Okay, so I've written the cosine rule here. It's a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cosine of a. And it's in the logbook. Right, let's see what I can fill in. Can I fill in for a? No. I haven't been given a, so that's just going to remain as a squared. Can I fill in for b? Yes, it's 11. So it's 11 squared. Can I fill in for c? Yes, it's 8. So it's 8 squared. minus 2 by B by C by the cosine of 32, because that's what angle A is. Okay, relatively straightforward when you're missing A. Very straightforward. You simply type all of this into the calculator in one go. Okay, all of that into the calculator. No need to move anything, no need to do it. Just type the entire line into the calculator. And you will end up with a number. A squared is equal to, I'm not sure what number you get. I don't have a calculator. I don't need one right now. But I'll end up with a number when I type all that into the calculator. And I'm almost there. I've nearly found what A is. The only problem is still have the squared over here. So I have to bring that over so that A is completely on its own. So A will be equal to the square root of whatever that number is. And then that's the last little thing you have to type into the calculator. A is equal to whatever you get when you type it into the calculator, the square root of whatever number that is. Okay, so just going over it again. When you're missing A, when you're missing the side over here, these are the nice handy ones, you simply just write down what A is, the angle A, big A, label where small a is if it hasn't already been done for you, label the other two sides as B and C, doesn't matter which is which, and fill all of that information into the cosine rule that's given in the logbook. So we have it all filled in there. Type the entire right hand side into the calculator and press equals. And whatever you get, write it down. Then get the square root of that. And that'll be the answer. Okay? Straightforward questions. And indeed, that's how you would do all of those first three questions. That, and that. In fact, that first one there is the one that I was just doing. Now, if you were missing the angle A, like this one here, we're missing the angle A, you do it slightly differently. It's a little bit harder. And here's that one done over here. We're missing the big A, the angle A. Now, you do it the same way. So, label the angle as A. Now, that's already done for us in the question. But they don't always have that done. Sometimes they have the angle called B or C, like these ones. And in those cases, you would have to label it as A. Label it as A. It doesn't matter what letter they call it. You should call it capital A. Okay? To get into that habit. Back to this question we're doing here. Label the angle as A. Label the side that's directly opposite that angle as small a. Then the other two sides are B and C. And it doesn't matter which is which. You'll still end up with the same answer no matter which one you call B and no matter which one you call C. So long as you have your A in the right place. Okay? Now fill in to the formula, the cosine rule. Do we know what A is? Yes, in this case we do know what A is. It's 6. Oops, what happened there? It's 6 squared. So we fill in 6 squared. Do we know what B is? Yes, we do. It's 8. So it's 8 squared. Do we know what C is? Yes, we do. It's 5. Minus 2. B is 8. C is 5. Just move that over a little bit so you can see where I'm getting C from. And of course, this time we do not have the angle. So this is the bit we don't have. So in this case, it's going to be a little bit harder because this is the part that I need to get on its own. I need to move everything else over onto the other side. Okay, now leave this bit. No, I won't use that purple. I can get a different color. So just leave this bit here for the moment. The minus 2bc bit, this bit of the formula. Instead, we're just going to focus on the b squared part and the 5 squared part. We're going to move those over to the other side. Okay, now lots of people would actually do that out first. So before they move anything, they just literally square those numbers. So it'll be 36 is equal to 64 plus 25 minus. Now here, when you multiply 2 by 8 and by 5, you get 80. So why am I doing this? Well, I'm just tidying things up before I start moving. I'm just tidying everything up. And what you must do, like I said a second ago, is move those two numbers, the b squared and the c squared, move those over to the other side first. So what you'll end up is 36 minus 64, because they're moving over the equals, minus 25 is equal to, now be really careful here, what's left over on this right hand side? All of this is left. That minus sign is still there. So you must remember to write down the minus sign. So it's equal to minus 80 cosine of A. Okay, don't forget the minus sign. Now when you do this, you can tidy things up even further. Do this, you end up with minus 53. Okay, so we're just doing this gradually, going nice and slow. Okay, so now we've still not got A on its own. Okay, so the next bit you move over is that number there, that minus 80. That's multiplying as it is by the cosine of A. So if you bring it over to the other side, it'll go underneath, it'll divide. Like that. And the cosine of A will still be there. Now you can type that bit into your calculator, but it's easier if you just leave it until everything is moved over onto the left, because we still have a little bit to move over. And the last bit we need to move over is that cosine bit. That has to move over, because A is still not on its own. It's got a cos with it, so we need to move that over. And just like in the sine rule, when you move a cos or a sine to the other side, it changes to the inverse. And what's there will stay there, but put it into brackets. Now A is on its own. And now you're ready to type that into the calculator. All in one go, rather than doing it bit by bit by bit. Okay? And when you type that into the calculator, that will be your angle. Okay, now we'll just try one more of those, because those ones are tricky ones and the computer wasn't exactly being my best friend there during that one. So let's try this one here, part number 2. So what's the first thing we have to do? We label the angle as angle A. Okay, I'm just going to cover over that B because I don't want to confuse myself. Go over and label the side opposite as side A. Then the other two sides are B and C. It doesn't matter which is which. I write down the formula, the cosine rule. A squared is equal to B squared plus C squared minus 2BC by the cosine of A. I fill in what I know. I know what A is. I know what B is. I know what C is. I know that that's 2. That's just part of the formula. I know that B is 10 and that C is 9 by the cosine of A. Okay, I should really put brackets around everything, really. It's always nice to have it to get into. 7 squared is 49. 10 squared is 100. 9 squared is 81. Minus 2 by 10 is 20. And 20 by 9 is 180. So I just tidy in everything.